Welcome to the Spearo Hangout, where we talk all things spearfishing, freediving and foraging. We're three guys from Devon in the UK who are excited to share some of the learnings from our spearfishing journey with you over the coming episodes. We bring in some special guests along the way to help spread some in-depth Spearo knowledge from some of the most experienced people in the scene.
Hey, how's it going?
Evening.
Where the fuck's Ben?
I don't know. I thought I left him with you.
No, he's busy, man. He can't make tonight, unfortunately. But
let it down.
yeah. Well, yeah. How's it going? You all right?
Yeah, good. Well, I'm doing better than your internet connection again.
Yeah, sorry about that. And also, if anyone hears loads of cars driving by in the episode tonight, that's because I'm sat on the side of the road in my car trying to get decent signal, but turns out that's not the case.
Honestly, you wait until you listen to this back, because we may have already had our guest on, and yeah, trying to wait for Rich to sort his internet out. So we're kind of doing the intro again at the end, but once you listen to this back, you realize your mic quality is fantastic all episode.
Oh god.
Oh dear. It's all right. We'll get you Starlink. I'll ring Elon Musk tonight.
Okay, thank you, mate. Appreciate that. But the good news is that I am getting like ultra fast broadband soon, so that will resolve itself. But
awesome.
yeah, so I don't know if you heard, and I know it's a little bit braggy, but I won 2 more trophies.
Ooh, what trophies? For ugliest cunt on earth?
Yeah, basically.
Nice.
I won the Dorset specimen competition and the Dorset species competition.
You are a specimen.
Thank you, mate.
So Dorset specimen comp, what was that? So what, you won a competition for?
Yeah, so the Dorset Club, the Dorset BSA Club held a competition for all Dorset members all year long. So whoever submitted a specimen, which was the highest percentage against the current record for that species, would win. And I had a red mullet, which was 450 odd grams.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, it was like 37 centimeters long.
Fucking huge.
And so it was like 35% of the total against the record. Can you imagine a 1.2 kilo red mullet?
It was only 35%.
35%. Can you imagine a 1.2 kilo red mullet?
If that was sat on the sand on the bottom, you'd look at it and go, I'm fucking hallucinating.
Can you imagine?
I've done too many drugs to be spearfishing right now. That red mullet is not real.
Honestly, mate.
Jesus Christ.
when I found out, because I shot that fish and I thought, oh wow, this is a big red mullet.
It's like a record.
Yeah, I was like getting a little bit giddy, and then I looked up on my phone the record, 1.2 kilos. Yeah, okay. That's not happening. But big fish. So
and what was the second one?
The Dorset species competition. So as many species as you can get all year long. And
nice.
I think I landed up with, for that competition, I think I landed up with 14 or something. Because I forgot to enter a couple, whatever the case was. But yeah, I think I landed up with 14.
Is that because you keep going to all of your secret spots that you take Ben and Lawrence, but you never take me?
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's the one.
Yeah.
Actually, that is actually where I shot that red mullet as well, by the way.
Sick. You're keeping your spot away from me, only because you know that I'm going to tell everybody on the podcast.
Oh yeah, definitely. Otherwise, I'm hoping to get in this weekend. I don't know about yourself.
I think I'm working and looking at the weather. There's not going to be anywhere local because we got southeasterly all weekend.
Yeah.
So I mean, Torbay's absolutely chocolate milk. So I think the only place really is going to be either Cornwall. North Coast is washed out. I know that. Yeah, maybe up Dorset way. I don't know. Where are you thinking of going? You're going Dorset way?
Yeah, I'll be going Dorset, even if it's just for a scallop or two.
Yeah, nice.
Just to get in, try my new wetsuit out. because I've gone and purchased myself a new wetsuit.
Ooh, nice. Was it that one we
Yeah.
spoke about a while ago? The commercial one?
I got the Moray commercial wetsuit. So it's it looks really good quality. It's like double stitched glued seams.
Have you got it already?
Kevlar patches. Yeah.
So you've seen it. So is it as good as it looks in the photos?
It is better than it looks in the photos.
Ooh.
It's got Kevlar patches on the knee. Elbows, chest, thighs, and then it's got like these extra. It's got like extra
Padding for the knees
on the knees, just so that when you're sort of on the bottom, you could potentially kneel on the reef or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, it's really good. Wherever you tend to get nicked on the reef is where it's got like Kevlar or extra neoprene added to it, just to give it that.
Is it standard line? Is it just a standard lined neoprene, or it's not smooth skin?
No, it's not smooth skin. It's
nice.
open cell, but
that should last a while.
It's really good, and it's got a long warranty on it as well. So hopefully it'll definitely last a while. But it looks nice. Business, so really want to get out and try that. Desperate to get out.
Amazing. Yeah. Anything else on this week?
No, I don't believe so. I see the team for World GB just got the team for GB for the World Spearfishing Championship just got selected.
Oh yeah, through the BSA. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that looks like a really strong team. So hopefully they can do pretty well.
Yeah, well, it's in Spain, and I know what David's talking about me maybe taking the boat with him. And going as his buddy, but
nice.
I think it's 10 days and spending 10 days with Davo. Yeah, I spent 4 days with him in Scotland on the drive up there and back, and I don't know. I don't think I'd survive. Either he'll kill me or I'll kill him. Love you, Dave.
He'll probably kill you, I'd imagine it.
Probably. Bless him with his new bionic knees. Cool. Yeah. Right. So who have we got on today? Glyn Sadler.
Yeah, this week we're talking to Glyn, who's he's rowed the Atlantic. Something that I must say that I've really wanted to do for a long time, but obviously, look at the state of me. That's not going to happen anytime soon.
That's crazy. That's a long way.
Oh, mate, that's a hell of an adventure, though.
Yeah, I bet.
So I reckon let's get him on and see what it's all about there.
Absolutely. Come on. Welcome, Glyn. And thank you for coming on. So before we start, I'll just get you to introduce yourself and tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do for a living, what you're about, and what you do spearfishing wise.
Yeah, so my name's Glyn Sadler. I'm a 41-year-old father of two. I joined the Marines at the age of 17, spent 9 years with the Marines doing various bits and bobs. Since I left in 2008, I've been doing sort of quality inspection, quality assurance for oil and gas, renewables, things like that.
Nice.
I live mainly in North Yorkshire, a place called Thirsk. Since 2017, I got involved in ocean rowing. I rowed across the Atlantic Ocean in 2018-19 with a team of 4. And
Christ, nice.
Since then, since I got back from that, the adventure's just been non-stop. I was sort of looking for more stuff, and I eventually got into fierce fishing in 2019, and it's just been a match made in heaven for me.
Oh, nice. So you haven't been spearfishing too long then? You say 2019?
No, yeah, so about 5 years, I think now. Yeah, I'll be honest. I've been coming to Wales, where I mainly spearfish for the last 20 years. I've been snorkeling. I'm devastated that I didn't find it earlier in my youth, in my 20s. So I feel like I'm coming to it late, and because of that, I'm sort of super keen to get on with it as much as I can.
Amazing. Well, I don't know whether you're aware, but and not to sort of take over the Spearo Hangout, but the BSA has just worked with a load of people over in Wales and created a Southwest Wales spearfishing group. Or a club. So, and while talking to them, I didn't realise how amazing the sort of the what is it? Oh God, my head's gone into its fucking retard mode again. Coast. Thank you. Thank you.
Coastline, yeah.
Yeah. How amazing the coastline is up there.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. It's so where I'm based in Wales. It's in the very northwest tip. It's called the Glyn Peninsula. As you look at the map, you'll sort of see Anglesey sticking out the top, and then this finger of land goes off to the west towards Ireland. That whole coastline is a sort of national treasure, if you like. It's all sort of National Trust coastline, and it's just a series of sandy bays followed by rocky coves all the way around for a good couple of 100 miles.
Amazing.
How does that differ to the south coast in terms of like the spearfishing over there? Do you guys get good vis all the time as well?
No, God, no. I've been thinking about this a lot. So I haven't actually spearfished on the south coast. It's all been in Wales, and yeah, you do struggle for the viz a little bit. You get a bit of the wash coming out from the Menai Straits and the Mersey up around the north side, but the further west you get, the sort of clearer it gets, and you've just got, same as usual, keep an eye on the weather and hope for a couple of low wind days. And but when the viz is good, it's the terrain's unbelievable underwater. It's you've got seagrass, stringy weed, kelp. It's just as good as anywhere else, I think. But I don't think the species are as prevalent as they are down south. You still get the sea bass, mullet, and whatnot.
And what predominant species are you getting down there?
Sea bass, yeah, bass, mullet, pollock. Just not. I don't think you get in the sort of size of shoals that you do down there. But because it's the Irish Sea on the north coast of the peninsula, it's really cold. On the south, it tends to be a little bit warmer. But yeah,
nice. And you were saying a second ago about like the winds. So for us, or my local area, sort of like Torbay, anything with an east in it, we just get absolutely blown out. What's the wind that just destroys you guys?
Well, the good thing about the peninsula is you've got two sides. So where we are, I'm sort of central to the peninsula towards the end. You're within a 5-minute drive to either the north coast or the south coast. So if you've got predominant winds coming from the north, you're going to get shelter in the south and vice versa. So you've always got options. It just might mean that you need to have a drive about. I'll go down south to a place called Aberdaron, and the viz looks terrible. The waves are crashing. I think, oh, that's it for the day. I'll go check on the north side, and it'll be flat calm. So I think you always got options on the peninsula, which is great.
Oh, nice. It's similar to sort of Cornwall in that,
right on the end,
it doesn't take too long to get from sort of north coast to south coast, or go and find a little secluded area.
Yeah,
nice. And so earlier on, you said about that did you say you rode the Atlantic?
Yeah. So in 2018, December 2018, I set off with a team of 4 as part of the Talisker Whiskey Atlantic Challenge, and we rode 3,000 miles from La Gomera in the Canaries to Antigua in the Caribbean.
Well, yeah.
So,
Christ.
So
how long did that take?
So that took us 39 days, 16 hours and 45 minutes. 43 minutes even.
And so what's that averaging sort of rowing in distance a day?
Oh, it depends.
All about weather.
Yeah, it's so the reason why you go in December, I should say, is because it's that route, the Canaries to the Caribbean, is part of the sort of trade winds route, but from when Christopher Columbus set off and set that up. And so in December, you're getting predominant winds and conditions going from east to west. So you're taking advantage of that. And depending on what happens weather-wise will depend on how quick or how slow your crossing is. Our year was a particularly slow year. We had a really good start. We sort of headed south to pick up the trade winds sooner. And then in one day, we sort of picked them up. Great weather conditions. Managed to get 90 miles in one day, which is really, really good going. And then that was it. We had no winds, nothing for the next 30 odd days. And it was just flat calm, which was just so bizarre considering being on a lake, it's just like flat glass surface. And
but you can't see. Could you see land?
No, God no. That you I think at any one time, once you get past Verdi Islands. You won't see them, but that's you. You're sort of 500 miles from anywhere.
Christ.
Yeah.
Was that weird?
Oh, yeah, really weird, very strange. I mean, just to be, what I would say about the Atlantic row is it strips you down to just your bare bones in terms of emotionally, physically, because you are such a small boat. The boat's 8 meters by 1.5 meters. So it's quite a small vessel for four guys on board, and you're exposed to whatever the elements are going to bring, whether it's wind, rain, hot, cold,
sun.
You know,
Yeah.
Some 30 degrees during the day. Yeah.
And what kind of
That sounds
support
like
did you have with you?
So what was that, Rich?
Sorry, go on, Rich.
So I was going to say that sounds like a super humbling experience. And I was just going to literally just about to ask you what Anthony was going to ask you, like, what kind of planning goes into something like that. That must be quite a tremendous task.
Yeah. So just sort of give you a bit of background leading up to the row. Myself and 3 of the other guys were complete non-rowers, never been in a rowing boat, didn't really particularly know what we were doing on a rowing machine. That was sort of 2 years prior. And we gave ourselves a sort of 2-year campaign to raise in the funds for sponsorship to get a boat, to pay for food, to pay for provisions, all the courses we had to get done. So yeah, two-year campaign is sort of a minimum really that you need to get to the start line of an ocean row. And support-wise, the whole idea is that when you leave land, you have got everything with you for every scenario you can think of, with a plan from A to Z. Should anything go wrong, should anybody get injured, should you lose a rudder, whatever it is, you need to have a sort of backup plan, because once you're mid-Atlantic, there's no support. There are sort of like support vessels. There's a couple of yachts that Talisker provide, and they will make their way through the fleet once the sort of front boats get halfway across, but they're not there to sort of help. They're just there to check that you're okay, and they'll leave you alone. So, but if anything goes wrong, you could be weeks away from help, depending on.
So there wasn't something. So was it something that just the 5 of you did, or was it like a quite a few different boats did it?
Yeah, so we did it as a team of 4. Myself, Fraser Molan, Duncan Roy, and Will Quarmby. We were just 4 sort of friends who got together, and but other teams wise, you've got 5-man, 4-man, 3-man pair and solo rowers, and they all sort of set off on the same day, sort of it's staggered, but it is classed as a race. And that year, I think we had about 28 different nationalities, or different boats, at least, with various nationalities: Australia, America. So it's a global, it's a global event that takes place every year now.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah.
And so, what was the fastest time?
So currently, I think it's around about 30 days. I think is the fastest time it's been done in. Like maybe 29. I'm not sure. The year before, they had a really fast conditions. They absolutely smashed all the records. Everybody smashed the records. So we were sort of looking forward to having a go at that, and then it turned out to be the slowest year for quite some time.
You make it sound like there's quite a lot of people that row the Atlantic. Is that the case? Like...
Well, initially, so when we did it, the sort of statistics we were putting out there to sort of encourage sponsorship, because it was very niche. It's a very niche sport, ocean rowing, and at the time, I think there was less than 1,500 people had ever rowed an ocean.
Right,
that put you into that sort of elite bracket of people. I think more people had been to space than had rowed an ocean at that time as well.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, but since then, I think the popularity of it has just grown, and Talisker have done an amazing job of putting races on every year. And so it went from every other year to now being every year, and now they're sort of getting 40 to 50 boats in the fleet annually, which is amazing. Yeah, they've done a really good job.
Oh, that's awesome. And have you got, what's the best and worst bits? Tell us, have you got a funny story? Tell us your funniest story about the whole trip.
Yeah, we've got plenty of various stories. One that springs to mind straight away would be Duncan. So every sort of week or so, you need to get in the water and scrape the boat, because it starts to build up with barnacles and whatnot, which, thinking of marginal gains, you want to sort of remove those to make sure you've got a nice clean underbelly, and you're going through the water as smooth as you can. So once a week you're under the water scraping the barnacles off, and you imagine the ocean is vast and extremely deep, mid-Atlantic, so there's just nothing out there. And for the first time, Duncan jumped into the water with his lanyard on everything, straight into a jellyfish, like a huge jellyfish, and he ended up with tentacles all over his hands. And we didn't know what was going on at the time. We just this scream of "Get me out, get me out!" trying to pull him out, and the sort of managed to get him out. He had all these, and they were quite big tentacles, to be fair, all over his hand. And with all the first aid stuff we'd done, and we sort of like, actually, what do you do if somebody's got tentacles all over the hands? We thought like, so I thought, right, grab a towel and just like wiped all these tentacles off. And I thought, actually, what I should have done was, I don't know if you remember the Friends episode with where Joey wheeze on urinates on was it Monica or Rachel or whoever?
Yeah, I can't remember.
I thought that was a perfect opportunity to urinate on Duncan, but I didn't take it up. Anyway, I managed to get through, because you sort of take iPads and stuff out with you, and looked on there, and it was whatever you do, don't use a cloth to wipe off the tentacles, which is exactly what I'd just done, because all I've done is just spread the sort of the sting around his hand. But so that was one incident. That was just, but other incidents, just daft stuff, like you'd see a boat miles in the distance, and you'd get in touch with them. And we had one boat going from Peru over to Africa. We tried to get hold of them on the radio, and eventually they came through. And we were sort of saying, what are you doing? We were told them what we were doing. And I said, could you toot the horn for us? And he's like, what is this, toot the horn? Like, your foghorn, toot the foghorn. So he's like, oh yes, toot the horn. And so we sort of sat there, and 30 seconds later, we just heard this in the distance, like, like, yes, just that boosted morale on board, just daft stuff like that can really. The strange thing about being out in a place like that and being extremely tired and extremely fatigued is that things can make you, really small things can make you very angry, but really stupid things you wouldn't normally laugh about can just have you increases, so much so that you can't physically row or whatever. You just end up sat there laughing. Yeah, it's a very, very strange experience.
And you were saying earlier on that you took all the supplies at the beginning. What was your sort of your diet while you were there?
So you're consuming around 10,000 calories per day.
Each.
Each. So you pretty much carry your own body weight in food on board, and that gets consumed obviously over the period crossing. But you also need an additional 60 days worth of food should the worst happen. Predominantly, it's frozen, freeze-dried ration packs. So this is stuff that it's freeze-dried. You boil the water, you add it, it soaks up the water and expands, and then you get it down here. It's not a particularly great diet. You have additional snacks with that, whether it's peanut butter or snack bars or whatever it is, but you need to consume that 10,000 calories per day, because the minute you leave land, your body is deteriorating. Basically, your muscle you start to lose muscle in areas that you aren't using, because you like your calves, or you never stand up on an ocean rainbow, so your calves tend to turn to jelly, and your body's very reluctant to get rid of the fat reserves that you've got. So it'll rather get rid of the muscle first, and so yeah, that's the routine itself is very arduous. You're rowing 2 hours on and 2 hours off, which is the sort of predominant routine that everybody's using. It gives you enough time to be able to put in a good shift rowing, but then enough time to rest and recuperate, and that's 24/7. So
I was just about to say, is that 24/7?
Yeah.
So you just take it in shifts while one of you's having an 8-hour or 6-hour kip?
No. It's 2 hours on, 2 hours off. So you'll never get more than sort of hour 40 sleep, maybe, which is extremely difficult to understand and to train for. It's referred to as polyphasic sleeping. So you're just getting many small phases of sleep, and the first 5 days are really brutal because you don't sort of practice that in training. You can do it a little bit, for like if you go out for a couple of days training or a week's training, you're required to do 100 hours before you're allowed to start. You have to do 100 hours of training on board your particular vessel or whichever boat it is you're using, and it's difficult to train that. You can do a long weekend or a week, but what do you do after 10 days, 20 days of that? You go into a whole new world, and just funny things start to happen. You start to hallucinate. You start to get out of your bed and get ready to come on shift. And like, what are you doing? I'm coming on shift. You've got another hour, mate. Oh God, it's just. Yeah, it's really brutal. Yeah, it's brutal on your mind. It's really brutal.
And you said earlier on that it was Talisker. I take that's Talisker whiskey, right?
That's correct. Yeah, yeah. So I think they used to do a sailing competition many years ago. I don't know whether that's where the sponsorships moved over to ocean rowing. So it's called the Talisker Whiskey Atlantic Challenge, and I think they've just started a Pacific one as well now because the demand for ocean rowing adventures is getting higher and higher, and the Pacific is a whole new ball game as well.
So how much whiskey did you consume in the 39 days?
None, and not very, very little, unfortunately. Although I do have a nice bottle of Talisker whiskey with my name engraved on it, which was given to me at the end. So I'm sort of saving that for a rainy day for sure.
Oh, amazing.
We did have a few. Go on, Rich.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I was just going to say, like, we've asked you all these questions, but what inspired it? Like, who came up with the idea to do this?
So I think I watched the documentary. I don't know whether it's 2005. Ben Fogle and James Cracknell did an ocean rowing crossing, and sort of since then, it's always sort of been in the back of my mind thinking, I'd love to do something like that, or a North Pole or South Pole, challenge of some sort. And since I left the Marines in 2008, I was sort of looking for that sort of sense of adventure and adrenaline and experience. And it just so happened I was talking to Duncan. He'd sort of said, we wanted to row across the Atlantic. We put a team together. One of the guys has dropped out. I said, I'd love to do that. And he invited me to come for a meeting with the other guys, and that was it. I was in. Yeah, brilliant.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean that's some crazy stuff. Also, while you guys were out there, did you like try and catch any fish or anything like that? Do you even have time?
Well, it's now looking back at it and being into spearfishing, it really sort of one of my big regrets is not fishing while we're out there, because we did get visited by all sorts of wildlife, from seabirds. We had storm petrel following us for a couple of weeks, whales and various bits, but we did see sailfish,
Nice.
marlin, dorado, tuna, all sorts, sharks. So sort of we didn't even cast a rod. We were so focused on because initially we set out to sort of win, to get across as first. One, because it sounds good to sponsors if you're going to try and win the race, as well as it's the best mindset to go in to get across the quickest and get it, get the experience done as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
But a couple of the other teams and some of the other guys do fish, even with just rod and line and whatnot. But now since getting into spearfishing and seeing some of the fish that guys at the blue water spearfishing are doing with big wahoo and dorado and stuff like that. I sort of think, well, that'd be really cool to be able to get that done as well.
Yeah,
So,
that'd be
are you going to do it again?
I'd like to do it again. I was invited to do a crossing from New York to London a few years back, which unfortunately I just didn't have the sort of capacity to get involved, because I think the Atlantic Road took up so much of my time for those 4 years for the 3 years, sort of 2 years campaign, and the year that we did it. It was like having another family and another job, because we're all trying to do our own jobs and look after our own families, but then we've got this team that we've committed to, and it's a huge commitment, and you've got to go all in with it. So I just didn't have the capacity to do that. However, I have recently purchased my own ocean rowing boat. So I now have this
Nice.
8-meter ocean rowing boat sat in the garage, sort of poking out, that needs refurbishing, but I'm hoping to start some adventures with that once it's good to go. And I'd love to do a round Britain row as well. I
was just going to say, we've had discussions about this, haven't we?
Yeah.
And it was going to lead on very well to me saying, what's your next adventure? But yeah, you've already told us. So you're planning on rowing around Great Britain.
Yeah. So
do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah. So it's a sort of lesser, maybe lesser known challenge. It's certainly no more prestigious in my book. In fact, I think it is much more difficult task to row around the British mainland than it is to cross the Atlantic, just because of all the conditions you've got to deal with. The Atlantic row is predominantly east to west, and the conditions generally are with you, or favourable. Whereas around Great Britain, you've got to deal with all sorts of weather conditions. The coastline you've got to be wary of, as well as different vessels all over the place. But
isn't it considerably longer as well?
No, it's not actually. I think it's about 800 miles shorter.
Really? Christ, I thought the UK was like 3,000 miles or 3,500 miles or something.
It depends. It depends which way you go. I think when you come up through the northwest of Scotland and the Scottish Isles, you're not going to go all the way around the outside. You want to create the shortest route as possible. But yeah, so that's sort of been in the back of my mind for the last couple of years now, wanting to do that, and I'd like to do it from closer to home. A lot of the guys set off from Tower Bridge in London.
Set off one way and then end there.
Yeah, basically. But I don't see the point in the Thames is quite a long stretch of and quite a dangerous body of water, and I'd quite just as easy cut that out if I didn't need to do it. And I'd like to do it from Teesside, from the Transporter Bridge, just to sort of bring a bit of local pride and prestige, if you like, to the sort of ocean rowing scene. As well as I recently found out that my great grandfather set off from Teesside in a convoy down to Poole in the Second World War, but was torpedoed off the coast of Kent, off Beachy Head, and his vessel still at the bottom of the sea there, SS Emerald. And I thought it'd be really cool to row his last trip, if you like, and lay a laurel over the wreck site, and then carry on around Britain. But other than that, I think I'd like to sort of get ocean rowing involved in other ways, in terms of smaller adventures. I'd love to do an Irish sea crossing round the Isle of Man, the Jurassic Coast, whatever it is. And then if spearfishing can be involved in that as well, then I think all the better. And if there's anybody out there that fancies doing a bit of both, having an intro into ocean rowing and doing some spearfishing at the same time,
that would be bloody good fun, wouldn't it? Imagine that, like just spearfishing, catching on your food as you're doing it. I mean, we spoke briefly about it. Like, would you take any provisions out with you, or you just catch your own food?
So if it was a round Britain row, I'd definitely take provisions. But I have sort of had this thought on doing some sort of survival row, where it is, you sort of have something that's achievable, point A to B, and you sort of survive on what you catch. And I think it's something that a lot of the guys that row around Britain don't look at. They don't like, for instance, why wouldn't you have lobster pots and things like that on board that you can chuck out overnight when you're in a bay resting, waiting for the weather or whatever? Imagine a fresh lobster when you've been eating freeze dried ration packs.
MREs.
Yeah,
Nice.
exactly. And it's nothing to you really to carry a daft lobster pot with you or anything like that. But it's and as well as, if I think a couple of the teams have been caught out where they haven't had enough food on board. They've got no option other than to pull in and get a resupply, which then means that their row is a supported row. It's not unsupported, which might be seen as a sort of lesser. But I mean, if you've rowed around Britain and you've stopped 20 times, you've still rowed around Britain in my view, which would be an amazing achievement anyway.
Nice. Well, I think when Rich was saying about it the other day, it's like me, I think me and Ben might be up for joining you on like a couple of days.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely down for something like that. I mean, that's it'd be difficult to get somebody who's never rowed before to go, right, we're going to row this stretch of the coastline, and but if it was for a weekend, there's plenty you can get done. If you look at it as more of a spearfishing expedition.
Spear and row.
Spear and row. That's it, yeah.
I think a survival sort of weekend on the boat, eating what you catch, would be absolutely fantastic. Even if it was to row, I don't know, to the Eddystone Lighthouse and back or something,
Yeah. That sounds amazing.
I've seen people on the Eddystone sleeping on that lighthouse or tenting up on there, and that looks pretty cool. Be a bit crazy if the weather turned, but getting back on. Sorry, go on.
There was a kayaker, wasn't there? He was kayak fishing.
Yeah,
and he pulled up on the Eddystone, and there's some pictures about on the internet of him. And he had a little barbecue, portable barbecue with him. And he's cooking his catch up on the Eddystone.
Absolute nutcase, but legend at the same time. And so pulling us back onto what we're actually here about, which is the spearfishing.
Yeah.
So you've been spearfishing for 4.5, 5 years.
Yeah.
How have you been getting on? I mean, versus the likes of rowing, do you find it's just as calming or just as limit pushing?
No, it's what I use as my mental reset. It's other than my family, it's what I work for. It's to get that enough to get that time away to go and do it. It's what I look forward to. Whether it's the preparation, that I just love everything about it, and I treat it as I would any expedition or exercise that I did in the Marines. Things like I go into as much detail as I can. Whether I'm going just for a dive for the day, I like to know everything. I like to know what the wind's doing, what the weather's doing. I do dive alone quite often. I sort of don't have much choice most of the time, but I just love everything about it. I love getting cold and wet, and if I don't catch a fish, it doesn't bother me. I really now focus on getting that perfect shot to put a fish out as quickly as possible, and not, and if I can't get that, I'm not bothered. I'll let it go.
Wait for the next one.
Yeah. It's such a. I'd love to sort of introduce it more to, especially military guys and ex-military guys, because it's like being in the Marines and spearfishing for me. It just works so well together. And I think I do so regret, because I was in 4 Assault Squadron down in based down in South Plymouth, and we used to go off in small landing crafts and stuff like that, and we'd be moored out off the coast. And I think, God, if I was spearfishing back then, I'd have just been. I'd had all my stuff with me, and I'd have been in the water catching the lads sea bass, and it'd have been amazing.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
suppose it's that they go hand in hand with, where you got the Marines, which is absolutely non-stop, probably full on, and very mentally exhausting. Whereas spearfishing is just kind of like just free.
yeah, definitely. It's definitely my mental reset. If I can get away for a week, if I've done, especially the winter, I can't wait. Like now, tomorrow's my first dive this year. Or
Oh,
hunt.
nice. Good luck.
So I'm looking forward to that, and I need it. It's been 3, 4, 5 months, since the last one, and if I get a weekend of that, I'm good. I'm good for the next couple of weeks. But yeah, and I've still got so much to learn still, which is great. Which I love. I love learning about everything about different species of fish. I've spent the last 5 years sort of mentally mapping the area of the Glyn Peninsula so I know where every rock is, where all the best hunting spots are, and yeah, I love everything about it.
What's your
When we were
favourite fish?
messaging before, sorry, Anthony, when we were messaging before, and you said that you were in the Marines, I actually kind of had this thought to myself that it would be a fantastic sport. I mean, for ex-military who are suffering, I guess, with like PTSD and stuff like that. It's so it just clears your mind, doesn't it? Like, I wonder whether that would work for them, like whether that would
Definitely
help alleviate stress or anything
definitely
like that.
because when you're in the sea, it's an arduous environment. It's not and you've got to be careful with what you're doing.
Yeah,
I still use that sort of military mindset in the preparation and everything, and just everything to you handling a weapon again, which I know a spear gun, you might not sort of see that as a weapon, but it is.
yeah,
And all the kit and all the admin you do, it's just like being back in the Marines for me. When I get back from a dive, I've got all my kit out, I de-service it, I'm cleaning it, getting it ready for the next one, just as I did when I was in the Marines. So it's a bit like being like that. And some of the guys, when they're out, I think they come so far away from that, and I actually sort of miss that side of things. I love nothing more than having all my gear and going down these sort of steep cliffs, knowing that I'm gonna have to walk back up, hopefully carrying a load of fish or whatever. But
yeah,
and I always think, oh God, why do I come down this cliff here? It's absolute epic to get back up. When you get back up and you turn around and you're looking out at the sea, and it's just like, yeah, it's always worth it. It's always worth it.
Nice sense of adventure and sense of completion. And I don't know whether you're aware, Glyn, but there is a club for ex-forces. It's not recognised officially, I don't think, by any of the forces, but it's been around for quite some time. The Forces Spearfishing Club. Right. They're part of the BSA, and they held a competition last year, and I'm pretty sure there were quite a few ex-forces spearfishermen. Women.
Definitely. There's a lad up here, Jack Metcalf. He's quite prominent on YouTube, and I think we're going to try and get together and do a video off one of the islands off Wales, which will be great. And he's an ex bootneck as well. So nice. It's a small world, and like-minded people and all that surround yourself. It's
100%. So what's your favorite fish? What's your favorite thing to catch?
I love eating and catching mullet.
Nice. We love bass, it.
a bit strange. Last year I think I must have got over, I don't know how many dives I did, but I must have got 20 or bass, and it's my wife's favorite fish. And by the end of it, she was like, I'm actually sick and tired of sea bass. I'm like, maybe it is I'm not cooking it right, or what's going on. And now she's like, oh, if you see a pollock, will you get me a pollock? I'm like, pollock? There's some fish fingers in the freezer. But no, anything. But mullet's my favourite, because I think when I first started out, I struggled with them. I struggled to get near them, and I struggled. I mean, it was great. It was great fun. I remember just getting so annoyed and just swimming after this mullet and just going round in circles with this mullet in the stringy weed. And I was like, right, I know where he lives. I'll be back here either next week or next year. I don't care. I'm getting that mullet. Whereas now I'm a bit more respectful. But yeah, I do love to catch a mullet.
You quite handy in the kitchen?
Getting better, and again, that's another thing. I don't normally cook stuff, but now, if you're going to take something like a fish out of the sea, I think you should do it good service by at least cooking it properly.
Yeah.
Mullet. I love it.
That leads us on to the fact that most spearos, they love to make the most of their catches, don't they? I mean, we all want to appreciate the fish, and if we take it, we want to make the best out of it, whether that is a mullet or a bass or whatever be it. But yeah, I mean, obviously Shrek, who does the Noob Spearo podcast, he's come out with a Spearo recipe book, which has some insane recipes in it. I mean, honestly, incredible. I've posted a couple of them on Instagram, and they are insane. And we're actually going to be doing a collaborative with Shrek, and we're going to be selling the digital copy of that book on our website. So
Nice.
for anyone that wants to have a look and download your digital copy, it's well worth a shot.
Well,
and it gives you some real great ideas of what to do with, especially if you're not handy in the kitchen. I mean,
Well, I hope you're going to have mullet fish cakes in there, because they're my favourite. If I roast a mullet, what I don't eat, I just go right 50-50 potato and fish and bread it and fry it. Yeah, it's great. And they
Have you
freeze
tried
it.
it as sashimi?
No, I've never tried sashimi. I know people have mentioned that. I've seen that mentioned, but I mean, if I can, I'll cook on the beach as well the same day.
Nice.
The same day if I can catch. But I like to get it done the same day from when I catch. I don't like to freeze stuff, because I've had because we got the place in Wales came down, and the freezer had gone on a blink. I had like several bass, and I was just devastated, because I thought it's a waste. I've taken those fish and they've gone to waste. But what I don't use or what I don't eat, I'll put in a lobster pot, and I'll put that out, or it just go back into the sea, like the head or whatever. Nothing goes in the bin; it all goes back where it came from. Worst case.
So earlier on, you were saying about how you're obviously quite meticulous with your gear. What one piece of gear do you say, or would you say, that you couldn't live without? Putting you on the spot.
Oh yeah. Well, I went on a while without a dive watch, and then when I did get it, I was like, why haven't I been using a dive watch? I think the dive watch is, if you're going to go spearfishing, everybody's going to have a particular taste of spear gun, or a particular type of knife and stuff.
Yeah.
But again, I've gone from, I hate to say this, but when I started out, I was very naive, and anybody wanting to get into spearfishing who's a beginner, do as much research as you can before you even go in the water. I started off, I didn't even know we did spearfishing in this country. I was like, you're joking, there's nothing out there. When I've been snorkeling, I've never seen anything. And so I went out with my wife's cousin, Greg, who did a bit of spearfishing, and I was out there I've got a spear gun. I was in my swim shorts and a rash vest and a snorkel and stuff. After about an hour, I came out, I was blue, because I was just so excited and enjoying myself so much, I'd forgot how cold I was. And then from then, I sort of went. I'd never worn a wetsuit up until that point, and got a second-hand wetsuit, and I was like, why have I never worn a wetsuit? And then the hood, and the gloves, then the shoes. It's just sort of got better and better as I've gone on. Yeah. I think maybe I've got myself a 7mm Silver Mile wetsuit now, and that is the bee's knees. I don't even know if I'm in the water. It keeps me so warm. And here now, April is probably the coldest point to be entering the water. You've had all winters for the sea to cool down, and it can be.
What
really
you're saying,
cold.
what you're saying then about the dive watch reminds me of a post that I saw from a while back. Actually, I was searching for something and it came up from Dan Mann on one of the spearfishing Facebook pages, and it's so true what he said, actually, because most, I say most, a good percentage of people that spearfish, you find they got GoPros, right, or some form of action camera attached to the gun and everything else. And in actual fact, they'd be better off just spending that money on a dive watch, In that's what his point was saying, that like, what's the most essential piece of electronic, and really a dive watch is that essential bit of kit, really. I mean,
Agreed,
instead of getting yourself a fancy GoPro 10 that you're going to lose eventually, you'd be better off spending that money on a dive watch and just really honing in your technique. And when I say technique, I mean, like, making sure you get your recovery times spot on and everything else. I think once you've dived with a dive watch for a little bit, then you could probably come away from it.
Yeah.
If you wanted to. I mean, if it died or whatever, you wouldn't. Yeah. At least you got a good idea of what you need to do in terms of like recovery and everything else.
Yeah, I think you can get a bit too excited. When you've done a dive and you know that there's fish about and you want to get back down there straight away. But the dive watch sort of just helps you maintain. Oh, actually, no, I need another minute before I even think about going back down.
The only thing that I'd say my experience with the dive watch, so I've got the the Descent Mark II. I sort of went just luckily all out and got the really decent one. But I found as soon as I got it, for the first like 2 months, because I got it at the very beginning of last season, so I'm still a fresh noob Spearo. But I was just looking at it constantly. And it was playing in the back of my head, even while I was on the bottom. I was like, oh, my depth timer hasn't gone off. I'll have to look at my watch and see how close I am to my bottom time and all of that. And actually, I ended up halfway through summer just taking it off, going to a place that I know the location, I know the depth. And now that since I did that, I've now put it back on, and I actually don't look at my watch anywhere near as much. And it's sort of like, it's chilled me out a lot. So dive watches they're a massive safety help. Everyone should have one.
No, I agree. It's I think when you first get one, you are sort of conscious of it more, and you're constantly looking at it. But I never look at how long I've been on the bottom. I always go on how I feel. And if I come back up, I'm like, God, I was going down there for 40 seconds. I'm not bothered. My breath hold's not particularly amazing. I think if I try to max it out, I might get 2.5 minutes, but I've never needed more than 1.5 minutes, maybe. But I think that's just because I've focused more on my hunting skills and sort of knowledge of where the fish are going to be than trying to sort of go further, go deeper, go longer. I think for me, that's been definitely the way ahead.
And have you ever done any sort of like official freediving courses or spearfishing courses?
So I've got a lot of courses booked in this year for all sorts with the ocean rowing stuff, because I want to sort of be as competent with as many things as I can. And this year I've got day skipper to do. That's coming up. I have booked in with Steve Millard for free diving, Ada 2 and spearfishing, although I think it's the Ada 2, and even just doing the theory with him opened my eyes massively to a lot of things. But I'm also a bit wary of I don't particularly want to push myself to an extreme uncomfortable depth or breath hold. I'm enjoying what I do and how long I hold my breath for now. And if you wanted to be like a free diving instructor, you need to be diving sort of 30, 40 meters. And I don't think I'd feel comfortable with that. It depends what you want to get out of it. But for me, spearfishing is just, it's not really, it's less of a sport to me and more of a means of, hunting and
an escape.
Yeah.
Not competitive, more of more of an escape.
That's it. Yeah.
Amazing.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think you touched on there, didn't you, that free diving and spearfishing are separate things, but it's good to know the fundamentals of free diving from a safety aspect more than anything else. And I'd say probably a vast majority of spearos out there are people as yourself. You just want to have fun, you want to escape, you want to get some feed. You don't want to be bothered with the competitions and everything else that goes with it. And that's it's the fundamentals of spearfishing, isn't it?
Yeah. a couple of guys who sort of asked me about it and want to get involved, and I've sort of said, look, I'm not an instructor or whatever, but don't worry about breath holds and things like that. If you want to come down to Wales with me, and we'll go out, and we've just done shallow stuff from the surface. There's plenty.
Yeah.
There's plenty that I love hunting through the stringy weed, and and I think the biggest mullet I've got 54 centimeters. That was in
Nice.
a foot of water, and so that's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. I'm not even going to bother with diving. I know where I'm going. I'm going in the stringy weed. I want to see what's about. And I don't need to be holding my breath or anything tomorrow for that.
It's incredible how shallow mullet will actually come. Yeah. Isn't it, Matt? I don't know about you guys, but I've literally seen them in next to nothing, less than a foot. It's insane. They come right in, don't they?
Yeah.
I've what you were saying earlier on about chasing those mullet around. The amount of memories I've got of when was it? I think it was down Plymouthy Way. And anyway, I'd taken the boat out. We anchored the boat up, jumped in, and I swam into a little sort of beach enclosure bit. I saw this shoal of mullet, and I was like, right, okay, I'll go around the other side of the rock, and started swimming towards the beach. And anyway, I ended up chasing them pretty much into 3 inches of water on the beach, and it was like, for fuck's sake. And then they just all split up and darted away. Yeah. But no, they can go shallow.
They've got big googly eyes as well, haven't they? They're sort of like I don't want to say a dumber looking bass, but
a torpedo stupid bass.
Yeah, they've just got these googly eyes, and if you go for them and they look at you as they pass you, they sort of stare you out with that one eye, and you're like, a little sod, get you.
So, dream spearfishing destination and dream fish. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to take your spearfishing?
Well, I heard Joe PK talking about the Azores on the podcast with you, and I've always wanted to go to the Azores. And then since ocean rowing, I sort of and looking into the Atlantic and remote locations, and I sort of think, the Azores used to be the sort of center of the world at one point, because it was between the Europe and the Americas, and it was a sort of safe haven. And I've always wanted to go just out of interest, but then when I've heard that it's like being in the UK, but sort of on steroids, if you like, with the fish that are there, then I think I'd quite like to.
If you're rowing to the Azores, you better give me a spot on that boat, man.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that.
The only thing you're gonna have to make sure is that your rowing boat's big enough to fit all of his belongings, because he'll fucking move there.
Well, that's another funny story on that. So we rang a guy who did the Atlantic Row the year before, from Team Antigua, who did it, and we were like, we really want to have a go at winning this. We want to be as fast as we possibly can. And he was sort of saying, well, forget about taking what belongings you're thinking you're taking. So imagine a plastic bag that you get from the shops. And I was like, that's this sort of size of plastic bag. He said, yeah, we'll cut that in half. And that's how much. He's like, two pairs of socks, 2 pairs of knicks, couple of t-shirts, and that's you sorted. I was like, and we went so strict because of that phone call, because we were like, yeah, we need to get rid of everything. Tabasco sauce, now we'll do without that. we had no treats on board. There was no hidden stickers or anything like that. It was so strict, and that was a huge regret. Once we got mid-Atlantic, we're like, if we could just have a Tabasco sauce with this.
Please, some flavour.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
Basically just rowing across the Atlantic naked with no chocolate.
that was pretty much it, yeah. I think we'd one of the guys had a chap called Chris Shirley who'd done row with Duncan before, and he'd hidden a box of Lindt chocolates, the ball Lindt chocolate. And we were having one a day for a week. It was like a treat. So you imagine just just one Lindt chocolate, and then it came down that there was one left. So we had to play a game or something, so that who was going to get this one Lindt ball. And I think we just played a numbers game, and it got really I don't know. I think it could have almost kicked off on board because it was just like the last chocolate.
As soon as you say that, my stupid and sick twisted head that I'm sure my missus still loves to this day, was going, well, you could probably just each share a 5-second suck on it. Like, just one of you suck it for 5 seconds, then you pass it on.
Right.
Are we talking about the chocolate or what?
What chocolate?
Mate, if I was on that boat, there would be no sharing that chocolate, I'd tell you.
Well, it was even just the resentment. It was Duncan that won it, and he was like rowing in the stroke position, which is sort of the guy you're following who's in front of you, and just the sound of him enjoying that last link chocolate, you almost just wanted to get the oar and just like club him over the back of the head with it. Like,
feed into the fucking sharks. I hope you sharks like chocolatey man.
We did get what else? We did see a lot of flying fish. They're
cool.
Nice.
They were awesome. It was like little squadrons of fish that fly out the water. Obviously, they're getting chased by Dorado or whatever it is. Whenever there's a predator, they fly out and rowing away with Duncan in the middle of the night, and just start hearing this like flapping about on the boat. What the hell? The flying fish had managed to get its way on board, and we were like, "What do we do? Do we take a picture of it, or do we try and grab it and throw it out?" It may be about sort of 8-10 inches long, but yeah, weird looking things. But amazing to see them just flying across.
Yeah, nice.
I think that the year after and years since then, there've been a lot of marlin strikes on the boats.
Oh, really?
Because you sort of when you go to the toilet, I'm surprised you haven't asked me how you go to the toilet. I'm not sure, but when you go to the toilet, you do it in a bucket and you chuck it over. You never lean over a boat. It's like number one rule. Do it in the bucket, and that actually attracts all sorts, fish and whatnot. And you get little fish under the boat, like nibbling off bits or whatever, and that obviously attracts the bigger fish. And so the year after ours, somebody got a marlin strike, and the beak of the marlin went through the hull into the cabin and came out like next to his leg because he was like sleeping. That could have been disastrous. Luckily, I think it snapped off and it got stuck in there. Otherwise, they'd have had a massive hole in the boat.
Yeah, plug the hole.
Yeah, and that's happened a couple of times since. So it's never happened in races before, and then since then it seems to be every year they'll be getting marlin strikes. They'll all be having to wear Kevlar underpants.
The marlin now know once a year the shit is really good.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, awesome. That's awesome, man.
Well, thank you very much, Glyn, for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Enjoyed it. No, it's brilliant.
Yeah, man. It's the minute you messaged me and said, "Yeah, I want to row across Great Britain, or around Great Britain, should I say? Want to do survival rowing?" I'm like, "Yeah, we gotta get this guy on and have a chat because that's what I've literally said to my missus multiple times. I'd love to row across the ocean." And then she looks at me and she's like, "Yeah, I don't think you're going to get very far." And I'm like, "Well, no, but I'd love to do it."
Yeah.
I'll try.
That's what this sort of initiative I'm trying to start with a adventure company, Adventures Per Mare, and that's the whole premise is to get small ocean rowing expeditions, with people who just want an introduction into it, or as well as the spearfishing adventures and stuff like that. So you're more than welcome to jump on board, Rich.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. We'll definitely talk further and we'll get out, man. That's all about me. That's all about my jam, and I think it is for many other spearers. We're all very like-minded, so I think you'll be inundated. But yeah, thanks for coming on the podcast. We really appreciate it. And
pleasure.
Yeah, let's keep in touch, man.
Cheers, guys.
Look forward to it.
Appreciate
Cheers,
that.
Glyn. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
That was cool. Glyn is
mate, he's a legend.
I don't understand where people get all of this like drive. I fucking struggle sometimes to get out of bed in the morning, let alone row 3,000 miles with 3 friends and only a couple of chocolate buttons each. Like,
mate, the minute he said that you couldn't take chocolate on that boat, That was me done. I'm not rowing anywhere, mate.
Nope, fuck this. I'm going on a cruise.
Yeah, unlimited booze and chocolate. Send me on the cruise.
That is the thing, though. If you and me and Ben decide to go on that at all, like as long as I've got alcohol, I don't mind. Like a Talisker row should be a boat full of Talisker. It should be like pirates.
Yeah, you should do how they used to do it back in the day.
Yeah, I
Loads
don't
of rum.
mind getting scurvy. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that was a cool episode, man. It's always good to get someone on with a different perspective and someone who's done something different, you know.
Yeah, and obviously
Yeah.
ex-forces. So, yeah, what a very determined man with some good training.
Yeah, I like. We've had a couple of ex-forces on the podcast now, and they all tend to have a very similar approach to spearfishing, although that's obviously to be expected, I guess, with the background, right? But
yeah, similar training and sort of mindset.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, but that was a crazy good episode, man. And yeah, I don't know who we got on next week, but as usual, it's going to be a bit of a surprise.
Yup.
And yeah, obviously, as I said before during the episode, we're going to be selling Shrek's Spearo recipe book that he's come out with. So we're selling the digital version, and you could buy that through us with a 20% discount. All you got to use is the code Spearo Hangout 20 to get 20% off.
Spearo Hangout 20. Nice.
Yeah, man. And obviously, you can impress the missus with your fancy cooking. I mean, not that you need any more skills, Anthony. I mean, your cooking's like next to none.
Yeah, I don't think the missus needs impressing any more than she already is. I mean, she's going to end up having a heart attack at some point. It's just, she's with somebody that is just so amazing. But never mind.
Well, yeah, she can't handle your awesomeness, mate.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm just having a look at the calendar. Oh yeah, no, the next podcast that we've organised is in like 2 weeks. So no, that's fine. We'll have to find somebody else for next week.
Yeah, man. We'll as we normally do, we leave these things to last minute.
Yeah, 3 hours before. Can you call the podcast, please?
But yeah, it's always fun.
What I've also noticed this podcast is, considering that Ben isn't here because he's gone AWOL, that we haven't really ripped it out of him. But anytime that I'm not here, both of you rip the shit out of me, you little fuckers.
That is true, mate. That is true.
So I have to do a podcast without either of you and then talk to myself and rip it out of both of you at some point. But no.
Well, I tell you what, the next episode we do, and he's not here, we'll just rip it out of him the whole episode.
Yeah, well, I'll work on some Ben jokes.
All right, mate. No worries.
Yeah, just think about things that are to do with squares, rectangles, all of that stuff. You know the origin of the reason why I called Ben a square.
Yeah, I think you told me something to do with Rachel. They called him a square, wasn't it?
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, he's such a square," and from then I was like, "Oh my god, I'm telling him." And she's like, "No."
So how the fuck did I become an
Circle.
oval then?
Oh, an
A
oval.
circle.
I don't know. Just
You better not be coming out with any fat jokes.
I'm not. I'm sorry, I can't get Mr. Humpty
Anthony,
Dumpty.
don't be fattest.
I'm not being fattest.
You are the fattest.
I'm not a fattest at all.
You are the fattest.
I'm the fattest. No, I'm probably the heaviest. But no, I just can't get Humpty Dumpty out of my head now. But anyway, we'll move on.
Yeah.
No, that was an awesome podcast. Right, we'll stop chatting shit. We'll leave you guys to continue on. Thanks again for listening, and we will see you next week.
Awesome. Catch you later, mate.